Germany wants to upgrade the Bundeswehr, that's their army, with several billions. Union and the so-called traffic light coalition have been wrestling with the details for several months. Now the way is clear for enormous armaments expenditure. The Christian Democratic Union and the coalition have agreed on the legal basis for the planned special fund of 100 billion euros for the Bundeswehr. In principle, this gives the green light for weapon orders from the armaments industry on a large scale. An initiative to accelerate procurement will be launched immediately and before the parliamentary summer break, said representatives of the Social Democrats, the Greens, the Liberals and the Conservatives in a joint statement on Sunday evening after more than 3 hours of negotiations. In response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Federal Chancellor Olaf Scholz announced a massive rearmament in the Bundestag on February 27th. The budget would be provided with a one-time special fund of 100 billion euros for investments in armaments projects, and more than 2% of gross domestic product is invested in defense every year. Because the special fund is to be anchored in the basic law, which is our constitution, a two-thirds majority is required in the Bundestag and the Bundesrat, the federal parliament and the federal council. The coalition is therefore dependent on votes from the opposition. In their statement distributed by the Ministry of Finance, the politicians said, "Together we will ensure that the Bundeswehr will be strengthened with additional investments of 100 billion euros in the coming years. NATO's so-called 2% target will be achieved on average over several years." Social Democrat leader Saskia Esken had already announced in the German newspaper Frankfurter Allgemeine Sonntagszeitung, "We will not reach the 2% target equally every year. If you order large equipment today, you won't get it for 3 or 4 years. The amounts may not be as high in the first 2 years, and then there comes a year when a lot becomes necessary," she said. This was probably the main point of contention until the end. The Christian Democrats wanted to make it clear that the special fund will only be used for the Bundeswehr. An initially planned formulation to strengthen the alliance and defense capability was too unspecified for them. The Greens in particular wanted the money to be used to finance cyber defense and support for partner countries. It is now not the special fund that is to be used for this, but the federal budget. The government will present a strategy to strengthen security in the cyber and information space. Necessary measures for cybersecurity, civil protection and to strengthen and stabilize partners are financed from the federal budget, said the negotiator around Finance Minister Christian Lindner from the Liberals. With the planned law for the establishment of the special fund, an economic plan with specific procurement projects should also be decided. The Union and the coalition further agreed. Its realization will be accompanied by an advisory body of the Budget Committee of the German Bundestag, they say. The agreement provides for the following for the future. After the special fund has been used, the necessary funds to achieve the then valid NATO capability goals will continue to be made available. After the claim, the repayment begins within a reasonable period of time. During a conversation with citizens in Potsdam constituency on Sunday, Scholz said that the special fund was needed for a strong Bundeswehr. He said, "It is necessary so that nobody dares to attack us or our allies. Of course, if you've broken a contract, you'll often get the idea," referring to the Russian war of aggression in Ukraine. In the run-up, the government factions had said that compliance with the 2% target should probably not be anchored in the basic law as the Union had initially proposed. This point remained open in the result paper. Because the problem is the gross domestic product, the GDP, is not yet known when the budget is set, so you do not know at that point whether the target will ultimately be met with the budget plans or not. The Federal Statistical Office reports the results of calculations on GDP around 15 days after the end of the year. The defense policy spokesman for the Liberal parliamentary group, Alexander Müller, had told the German press agency, "The special fund must be included in the basic law before the summer break, otherwise we will lose a lot of time." Before the industry hires new staff and orders materials and preliminary products, they want to be sure that the funds are also legally secured. The necessary ships, vehicles and protective vests are not in the shop window, but have to be produced again, Müller said. In his answer to the question of when an agreement must be reached, the Social Democratic parliamentary group leader Rolf Mützenich referred to the planned adoption of the budget this week. It makes sense to also decide on the special fund. That's what he told the German newspaper Passauer Neue Presse. And I must admit, there was a time when I didn't believe that they will find a solution, but it seems they did now, which is good for the Bundeswehr, for NATO and for Europe. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.